in the media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is very, very current, and that is oxygen, oxygen, oxygen. But before I will go to the main topic, I would like to inform you that today world is observing World Malaria Day. World Malaria Day is an international observance. One moment, please. Sorry. World Malaria Day is an international observance commemorated every year on 25th April and recognizes global efforts to control malaria. Globally, 3.3 billion people in 106 countries are at risk of malaria. In 2012, malaria caused an estimated 6,27,000 deaths, mostly among African children. Asia, Latin America, and to a lesser extent, the Middle East and parts of Europe are also affected. World Malaria Day was established in May 2007 by the 60th session of the World Health Assembly, WHO's decision-making body. The day was established to provide education and understanding of malaria and spread information on year-long intensified implementation of national malaria control strategies, including community-based activities for malaria prevention and treatment in endemic areas. Media conference with Lal Goyal hopes that this day will create more and more awareness to save many more lives. Today is a very auspicious day because the India is celebrating Mahavir Jayanti. Mahavir Jayanti is one of the most important religious festivals in Jainism. It celebrates the birth of Mahavir, the 20th, fourth, and last Tirthankar of Jain faith. According to Jain texts, Mahavir was born on the 13th day of the bright half of the moon in the month of Chaitra in the year 615 BCE, Chaitra Sudhi Triyodshi. Lord Mahavira established 5 rules for humans to follow, namely Ahimsa, Asthya, Brahmacharya, Satya, and Aparigraha. Lord Mahavir based a lot of his teachings on scientific facts of nature and the true meaning of life. Media conference with Lal Goyal wishes you all on this auspicious occasion. Now coming to the main topic, and that is oxygen, oxygen, oxygen. And before I will go on the main topic, I would like to inform you that I have taken some bite of a renowned social worker. He will be giving the bite first, and then I will start the program. So let's hear what he has to say about this particular thing. He's Kumar Narendra Singh. He's a renowned social worker from Mathura. So we will listen to him first, and then we will start our program.
देश में लगभग 3 लाख से ऊपर कोरोना के मरीजों का प्रभाव दिखाई दे रहा है। उसमें हमारा मथुरा भी अछूता नहीं है। 400-500 के लगभग रोज मरीज यहाँ पर आ रहे हैं और इस वक्त अस्पतालों की स्थिति ऑक्सीजन न होने की वजह से बहुत भयावह है। कल रात भी मैं करीब 2-2:30 बजे तक जगता रहा। नियति से चूँकि जुड़ा हुआ हूँ, वहाँ ऑक्सीजन की व्यवस्था नहीं थी, तो मेरे को जानकार थे जो लोग ये कारोबार कर रहे हैं। नीरा जी का फ़ोन आया तो मुझे फिर चिंता हुई, क्योंकि सभी लोग अपने हैं, चाहे वो बाहर से आए हों या मथुरा के हों, उनको ऑक्सीजन के बिना तो जीवन मृत्यु का प्रश्न हो जाता है। तो इसलिए करीब 1:30-2 बजे तक वो व्यवस्थाएं हुई, लेकिन और भी ज़रूरत है। तो प्रदेश सरकार अखबारों में तो दिखाई दे रही है, लेकिन धरातल पर वो काम जो होना चाहिए वो नहीं हो रहा है। आप सेंटर्स नए नए खोल रहे हैं। कल मैंने डीएम का एक वक्तव्य सुना था कि अखबार में पढ़ा भी था कि वो रामकिशन मिशन, स्वर्ण जयंती और ये दरेसी का वो चिकित्सा संस्थान, इनको भी अडॉप्ट कर रहे हैं। आप अस्पताल तो कर लोगे, लेकिन उसमें साधन तो जुटाने की ज़रूरत है ना। वेंटिलेटर होने चाहिए, उसमें ऑक्सीजन की व्यवस्था पर्याप्त मात्रा में होनी चाहिए। एक वो इंजेक्शन है, वो थोड़ा नाम उसका रेडिस क्या जो भी है, मैं उसको प्रोनाउंस ढंग से नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, उसकी भी कमी है। उसको एक लाइफ सेविंग की तरह से लोगों में एक हवा या पैनिक फैल गया तो उसकी डिमांड बहुत हो रही है लोगों में। एक हवा या पैनिक फैल गया तो उसकी डिमांड बहुत हो रही है। न वो आगरा में अवेलेबल है, न मथुरा में अवेलेबल है, और दिल्ली में या बम्बई या बड़े शहरों में हो सकता है पर्याप्त मात्रा। तो प्रधानमंत्री जी भाषणों में तो कह रहे हैं, लेकिन उसकी व्यवस्थाओं के लिए गृह मंत्री टेलीविजन पर तो बोलते दिखाई देते, लेकिन ये जुटाने तो पड़ेगा साधन स्वास्थ्य विभाग को ही। ये कोई व्यापारी या कोई व्यवसायी या कोई उद्योगपति नहीं कर सकता है। जो इस काम को कर रहे हैं वही तो जानते हैं कहाँ कितनी सप्लाई होनी है। हर जिलों में इसकी व्यवस्था होना चाहिए। जहाँ ज्यादा फैल रहा है उस ज्यादा की लोगों को तादाद में उसकी समुचित मात्रा में व्यवस्था होनी चाहिए। तो मेरा मतलब यह है कि इस वक्त स्थिति चरमरा रही है। न तो स्थानीय प्रशासन पर व्यवस्था संभल रही है, न यहाँ के सरकारी अस्पताल या जो अस्पतालों से जुड़े हुए वो अपने सोर्सेज से लोग व्यवस्था कर रहे हैं। जो गवर्नमेंट का काम है करने का, वो व्यक्तिगत लोग, प्राइवेट लोग कर रहे हैं। तो अब चलिए, हमें करने में इसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। तो हमारे लिए सौभाग्य की बात है कि हम जनसेवा के काम आ रहे हैं। ये तो मेरे लिए गर्व की बात है। लेकिन जो लोग नहीं भी हैं इसमें इन्वॉल्व, उनको भी करना चाहिए। और सारे जितने भी, अब कल मेरे एक जानकार थे भाई गांव के रामवीर, उनसे मेरी बात हुई। उनकी फैक्ट्री है आगरा में, वहां के डीएम फैक्ट्री पे बैठ गए। जो हम सप्लाई यहाँ मथुरा लेना चाह रहे थे, वो आगरा के डीएम वहां से ले जाने लगे था। बड़ी मुश्किल से उन्होंने कुछ सिलेंडर्स भेजे यहाँ। तो ये सब व्यवस्थाएं प्रशासन को पता होना चाहिए, कहाँ कहाँ कौन कौन इस पे काम कर रहा है, ऑक्सीजन प्लांट्स कहाँ कहाँ हैं। वेंटिलेटर जो प्रधानमंत्री कोष से आया है, वो कह रहे हैं वेंटिलेटर खरीदे गए थे, वो कहाँ है वेंटिलेटर, कहाँ कहाँ दिए, उसकी ट्रांसपेरेंसी होनी चाहिए ना। पूरी पारदर्शिता से सरकार बताए उस बात को कि उससे जो पीएम केयर फंड से जो पैसा से खरीदे गए वेंटिलेटर, वो कहाँ उपयोग में आ रहे हैं। सिर्फ ये कह दिया कि इतने हजार खरीद लिए, इतने लाख खरीद लिए, इतने करोड़ के खरीद लिए, इतने 100 करोड़ के खरीद लिए। वो खरीद लिए भैया, तो काम कहाँ कर रहे हैं? ये सब जनता के सामने आना चाहिए कि आपको जनता ने पैसा दिया है, वो आपकी ईमानदारी पे दिया है, आपकी डिमांड पे दिया है, तो उसकी जवाबदेही तो आपकी है। कि सिर्फ ये कह देना साहब कि इतने खरीद लिए, अरे खरीद लिए तो गए कहाँ वो? दिल्ली वाले अलग हल्ला मचा रहे हैं, बंबई वाले अलग हल्ला मचा रहे हैं, सारे प्रदेश हल्ला मचा रहे हैं, और ये पता नहीं लग रहा कहाँ कौन क्या काम कर रहा है। तो इस आपदा से जुड़ने के लिए, इस आपदा को सुचारू रूप से चलाने के लिए हम सभी, मैं तो सभी वर्ग के लोगों के आह्वान कर रहा हूँ, हाथ जोड़ के अपील कर रहा हूँ कि इस आपदा को फेस करने के लिए हम सब लोगों को साथ आना पड़ेगा, साथ आना चाहिए। और जिसका जो संपर्क है, ये नहीं इंतजार करे कि मुझसे फलाना कहे तब मैं करूं, ढिकाना कहे तब मैं करूं। जो कर सकता है वॉलंटरीली प्रशासन को जाके बताए, अधिकारियों को जाके बताए, सीएमओ को बताए, सीएमएस को बताए। कल मैंने सीएमएस से बात की तो वो कह रहे थे उस इंजेक्शन का तो पता ही नहीं है, वो इंजेक्शन है का, मेरे को, मैंने तो दर्शन ही नहीं किया उसके, मुझे तो मालूम ही नहीं पड़ेगा वो आया कि नहीं आया मथुरा में। तो ये नहीं होना। हर चीज की पारदर्शिता होनी चाहिए, अखबार में उसकी खबर होनी चाहिए, टेलीविजन पे होगी, फेसबुक पे होनी चाहिए, व्हाट्सएप पे होनी चाहिए, सब पे इसके लिए पूरी तरह से पारदर्शिता होती है। इसमें छुपाने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है। तो नहीं है, इसको ये क्या गुमराह कर रहे हैं कि यहाँ से मंगा रहे हैं, वहां से मंगा रहे हैं, अरे नहीं है तो नहीं है। वो आदमी कहीं और करेगा। आज एक मेरे मित्र को हो गया, उनको यहाँ नहीं मिला बेड, तो बेचारे जयपुर चले गए। आदमी को उतना जान तो बचानी है, कहीं ना कहीं तो साधन जुटाएगा ना। इसलिए आदमी को गुमराह नहीं करें, किसी तरह से धोखे में न रखें, किसी तरह से झूठ न बोले, सच्चाई के सामने सब लोग। सुबह ही एक बुलेटिन, सुबह और शाम 2 वक्त बुलेटिन आना चाहिए जिम्मेदार अधिकारियों का, कि इस तरह से व्यवस्था है, इतनी हम पे है, इतनी हम कर रहे हैं, इतनी हमें करनी है, इतना हम सहयोग चाहते हैं। तो वो सब किया जाएगा। ये समाज का एक बड़ा एक चुनौती है, इसको हमको आपको सबको फेस करना है। तो मैं गुजारिश करूंगा जिला प्रशासन से भी, स्वास्थ्य विभाग से भी, और अगर ये वीडियो मेरा ये देख रहे हो महामंत्री, मुख्यमंत्री जी या और भी जो उनसे जुड़े हुए स्वास्थ्य विभाग के लोग हैं, तो इसकी व्यवस्था, उत्तर प्रदेश बहुत बड़ा राज्य है, बहुत आवश्यकता है यहाँ साधन जुटाने की। तो इसलिए आप लोग सब काम छोड़ के अब इसको, मैं तो ये कह रहा था, पहले भी कहा मैंने, चुनाव स्थगित कर देने चाहिए। कल परसों चुनाव के लिए, वो चुनाव होंगे तो भीड़ तो होगी, एक आदमी तो चुनाव नहीं करेगा। जब आदमी इकट्ठे होंगे तो वहां पे होगी। आप उन पर NSA लगा रहे हैं, किसी को पुलिस पकड़ के भेज रहे हैं, घर में उठा रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं, तो ये वैसे ही आदमी परेशान है और परेशान कर रहे हैं। तो मैं कल SSP से मिलेंगे, हम लोग जाके प्रतिनिधिमंडल बात करेंगे कि भाई अगर ठीक है पुलिस मुजामत गलत है, लेकिन उसका मतलब ऐसे धोखे में न रखें, किसी तरह से झूठ न बोले, सच्चाई के सामने सब लोग सुबह ही एक बुलेटिन, सुबह और शाम 2 दिन 2 वक्त बुलेटिन आना चाहिए जिम्मेदार अधिकारियों का कि इस तरह से व्यवस्था है, इतनी हम पे है, इतनी हम कर रहे हैं, इतनी हमें करनी है, इतना हम सहयोग चाहते हैं। तो वो सब किया जाएगा। ये समाज का एक बड़ा एक चुनौती है, इसको हमको आपको सबको फेस करना है। तो मैं गुजारिश करूंगा जिला प्रशासन से भी, स्वास्थ्य विभाग से भी, और अगर ये वीडियो मेरा ये देख रहे हो महामंत्री, मुख्यमंत्री जी या और भी जो उनसे जुड़े हुए स्वास्थ्य विभाग के लोग हैं, तो इसकी व्यवस्था, उत्तर प्रदेश बहुत बड़ा राज्य है, बहुत आवश्यकता है यहाँ साधन जुटाने की। तो इसलिए आप लोग सब काम छोड़ के अब इसको, मैं तो ये कह रहा था, पहले भी कहा मैंने, चुनाव स्थगित कर देने चाहिए। कल परसों चुनाव के लिए वो चुनाव होंगे तो भीड़ तो होगी होगी, एक आदमी तो चुनाव नहीं करेगा। जब आदमी इकट्ठे होंगे तो वहां पे होगी, आप उन पर NSA लगा रहे हैं, किसी को पुलिस पकड़ के भेज रहे हैं, घर में उठा रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं, तो ये वैसे ही आदमी परेशान है और परेशान कर रहे हैं। तो मैं कल SSP से मिलेंगे हम लोग, जाके प्रतिनिधिमंडल बात करेंगे कि भाई अगर ठीक है पुलिस मुजामत गलत है, लेकिन उसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप उसका दुरुपयोग करें। तो इसलिए हम लोग चाहते हैं कि समय रहते हुए इस चुनाव को, अभी भी मौका है, समय है, इसे स्थगित कर दीजिए पंचायतों के चुनाव को, कोई आवश्यकता नहीं, अगले साल हो जाएंगे, कोई इसके बिना मर नहीं रहा। तो मेरी आपसे गुजारिश है कि प्रशासन इसका संज्ञान ले और जल्दी से जल्दी इन सब व्यवस्थाओं को सुचारू रूप से चलाए, जिससे कि सब लोगों को भय से मुक्ति मिले।
So we have heard what a renowned social worker Kunwar Naren Singh had spoken about the problems faced by it at Mathura, by the people at large because of the shortage of oxygen, and how he got it organized oxygen for the famous Nayati Hospital Mathura in the night, because there was no oxygen and the lives of so many patients are on stake. So now we are coming to our main topic, and the topic is oxygen, oxygen, oxygen. Oxygen is the chemical element with the symbol O and atomic number 8. It is a matter of the chalcogen group in periodic table, a highly reactive non-metal and an oxidizing agent that readily forms oxides with most elements as well as with other compounds. Joseph Priestley discovered oxygen in 1774. Oxygen therapy, also known as supplemental oxygen, is the use of oxygen as a medical treatment. This can include for low blood oxygen, carbon monoxide, toxicity, cluster headaches, and to maintain enough oxygen while inhaled anesthetics are given. Long-term oxygen is often useful in people with chronically low oxygen, such as from severe COPD or cystic fibrosis. Oxygen can be given in a number of ways, including nasal cannula, face mask, and inside a hyperbaric chamber. A small proportion of COVID-19 patients need oxygen support when shortness of breath progresses to a more acute condition. Most patients with COVID-19 have a respiratory tract infection, and in the most severe cases, their symptoms can include shortness of breath. In a small portion of such cases, this can progress to a more severe and systematic disease characterized by acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS. When COVID-19 cases first began rising in India in March 2020, the government began identifying and adding dedicated COVID hospitals, dedicated COVID health centers, and COVID care centers, public and private. From time to time, the government also put out data on how many COVID-19 beds were available in these facilities across the country, including ICU beds and oxygen-supported beds for severe cases and isolation beds for mild and pre-symptomatic cases. Only COVID hospitals and health centers offer all three types of beds. By the time of the second wave, the Health Minister of India said, the country has substantially ramped up the hospital infrastructure for management of COVID. There were 2,084 dedicated COVID hospitals, 4,043 COVID health centers, and 9,313 COVID care centers in the country as on April 9th. These numbers all represent substantially increase since April 2020. However, the pace of adding COVID hospitals and health centers decreased after the first wave peaked in September 2020. On analysis of Health Ministry data submitted to Parliament and in press releases shows that between December 2020 and April 2021, the number of dedicated COVID hospitals fell by 6%. Similarly, there was a 6% reduction in the number of dedicated COVID health centers, falling to 4,043 in April from 4,300 in December 2020. Only the number of dedicated COVID care centers increased by 5% from 8,857 in December 2020 to 9,313 in April 2020. COVID care centers, however, are not equipped for severe cases. Only COVID hospitals and health centers can handle such type of cases. There were 2,55,168 oxygen-supported beds in the country on April 9, 2021. This is more than double the 1,15,134 beds in May 2020, but 6% fewer since December 2020. India's daily production capacity for oxygen is around 7,127 metric tons, while the consumption of medical oxygen on April 12th was 3,842 metric ton, and India's stock of oxygen were 50,000 metric ton. Thus, India's oxygen capacity and stock was comfortably more than daily consumption. The government said this on April 15, 2021. Along with the ramped up production of the oxygen manufacturing units and the surplus stocks available, the present availability of oxygen is sufficient, the government said, while telling states to ensure rational use of oxygen. At the same time, it instructed India's foreign missions to look for foreign vendors to import 50,000 metric ton of oxygen from and announced plans to purchase another 1 lakh oxygen cylinders. The government also announced that production capacity will be enhanced by 154 metric ton with 162 new oxygen plants in different states at a cost of rupees 201 crore. The total project cost includes 137.33 crores towards supply and commissioning of the plants, and management fee of Central Medical Supply Store CMSS is around rupees 64.25 crores towards comprehensive annual maintenance contract. The procurement will be done by the Central Medical Supply Stores CMSS on an autonomous body of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Of these, 33 have already been installed. Another 100 hospitals would get oxygen plants via the PM CARES Fund. The government also said that oxygen made in steel plants will be diverted to hospitals, and 14,000 metric tons of oxygen has already come through this capacity. The government subsequently announced steps to ease distribution by exempting oxygen tankers moving between states from needing permits and asking states to ensure that tankers can move round the clock. Cylinder filling plants have also been allowed to work 24 hours a day, and industrial cylinders could now be used for refilling oxygen for medical purpose. If production of oxygen was adequate, the issue was of poor distribution management by the government. The government said that India's consumption of oxygen is well within its production. So if production was not a problem, then clearly distribution was the problem. The government cannot be absolved of its responsibility, even if it says that production has been sorted, because handling logistics means handling production as well as delivery. On April 21st, one hospital moved the Delhi High Court in light of imminent exhaustion of its oxygen supplies and the danger to 400 patients. The central government reportedly informed the court that the country's production capacity for both industrial and medical oxygen was around 7,200 metric ton a day, but that the requirement was now over 8,000 metric ton daily. Now, there are contradictory statements coming from central government and state government and hospitals. And every day we are reading in the media that such and such hospital in Delhi has sent an SOS message that there are only 4 hours or 2 hours, even 1 hour or even 45 minutes oxygen is left. And then High Court is intervening, or the central government or the Ministry of Health, they all are intervening, and then the supply is reaching. But unfortunately, day 4 yesterday night, 20 to 25 patients lost their life at one hospital in Delhi, where the hospital themselves admit that, and they have put a affidavit in the High Court Delhi that it was due to the shortage of oxygen, which is very, very unfortunate. And why now? Because why we are so much worried? Because now COVID returns. Yesterday, that is 24th April 2021, India registered 3,49,165 new cases of coronavirus, which has taken the country's cumulative tally past 1,69,51,000 cases. Yesterday, 2,760 lost their life. This is an official data. Thus, total death due to corona raised to 1,92,309. According to health officials, India has administered 13,83,79,832 vaccine doses across the country as of yesterday, that is 24th April 2021. Although this vaccination program is in full swing, but till yesterday, the first dose, approximately 10% of the Indian population were administered, and hardly 1 or 1.5% the people have taken the second dose. So this is the condition as far as India's fight with COVID is concerned as of today. But because now we are talking of the oxygen, the short supplies, the patients are losing life, hospitals are in bad shape, and they are moving to the courts, they are appealing to the Prime Minister, Honorable Mr. Narendra Modi, the state chief ministers, Ministry of Health, and where not. But what is the real conditions? We have to discuss this point today, and we have a very, very elite, well-informed, who are known to the facts, panelist with us. And I would like to invite my first guest panelist, and he is Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava. Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava is the Medical Superintendent of Integral Medical College, Lucknow. He is a member of Association of Hospital Administration of India. He is a member of International Epidemiology Association, Edinburgh, UK. He is a member of Indian Forensic Association. He is having teaching experience of more than 13 years. He is the examiner for National Board of Examination, New Delhi, IGNOU for PGDHM, Bhimrao Ambedkar University, Lucknow for PG Diploma Hospital and Health. He has published 11 research papers in national and international journals of repute. Welcome, Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava on our show. Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava, please unmute. Please unmute yourself, Dr. Srivastava. Brigadier, please unmute. Yes.
Good morning to you.
Yes, Brigadier Srivastava, very good morning. See, today the condition, as you are aware, and you are a medical superintendent of Integral Medical College, Lucknow, and the conditions, the figures which are coming from UP is also not good, and the figures are very, very alarming. Even in Lucknow, there were, as per the data which is available, is that in yesterday, UP got 37,944 new cases, and Lucknow only got 5,509 new cases. Although, so this is the condition of UP and Lucknow. Now, oxygen is becoming a headline every day for last 1 week. We are listening, all the media channels, everybody is talking about oxygen. We want to know from you the real thing, because you are managing a hospital, you were earlier associated, you served the Indian Army, and after the retirement, now you are with a hospital as a medical superintendent. So no one else can give the better report than you. So oxygen, oxygen, oxygen. Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava, please.
Good morning, everyone. I will first try and tell you what is the requirement of oxygen, and then go on to tell you as to how it is supposed to be procured and where is the deficiency. First of all, I must tell you one thing: a normal patient who's not on ventilator would require approximately about 7.14 liters of oxygen per minute. And if it is extrapolated to a day in 24 hours, it works out to be about 10,000 liters per day. That is the quantum of oxygen which is required by a normal person. A person who's on ventilator would require 11.5 liters of oxygen per minute. So if it is extrapolated to 24 hours, works out to be about 2 jumbo cylinders or maybe 2.5 jumbo cylinders every day. So that is the quantum of requirement which is there for the oxygen. Now, what is happening? When the last time when the corona came in, there was the upper respiratory tract infection which used to occur, and the oxygen requirement per se used to be very less. But this time, when there's a triple mutant which has come in, so what has happened is, it is straight away, there's a thing known as happy hypoxia. Happy hypoxia means what happens is a person doesn't know that he is going into the oxygen crisis, and he suddenly lands up in oxygen crisis. And this sort of situation is being converted to everyone. So the initial corona, when it came, the symptoms were only fever and some throat pain, and people used to come out of it. Nobody used to come to know about it, that the infection has occurred, unless until they were tested. This time what is happening is, in spite of being tested also, what is happening is, number of patients tested positives are less. When it comes to TrueNat, the positivity increases. Number one. And number two, suddenly the person lands up into oxygen crisis. So the requirement of oxygen per se has gone up tremendously high. Now, what is happening? The government says the oxygen we will provide, as there is no dearth of oxygen. But everyone is hand to mouth. Why? Because everyone has got the requirement generally per se of a bigger hospital would be about 300 cylinders, let's say, on an average per day of a jumbo cylinders. The requirement which is being given is just about 100, 150 cylinders. So the present scenarios, there's a huge deficit between the oxygen which is required and the oxygen which is supposed to be supplied by the government. The government is trying to help us out by rationing, but rationing does not make any sense. The oxygen requirement is the requirement. And what is going to happen is, if you do not provide the oxygen, the person goes into hypoxic crisis. And once the person goes into hypoxic crisis, he doesn't come out of it, and he succumbs to the injury, which happens to the lung and the brain. So at present scenario, what is happening is, there's a gap, and probably the gap, what you have said is that the oxygen which is available is there by the government, but the supplies are not available. Why? Because the number of trucks which are supposed to be, the oxygen trucks which are supposed to be coming in, they have deficiency of that, because of which the oxygen does not land up in the city. And also there's a panic. The panic, because what is happening, each person wants to conserve one cylinder in his house, so that in case something happens, he wants to use that cylinder, without realizing the fact that one cylinder would not help the person out. He can only transport the person from one place to other place, and that is it. So it is better that the oxygen should go to the hospitals rather than coming to an individual, and a person is hoarding these oxygen, and there's a, you can call it as a pilferage which is occurring. So even if the government is trying to prevent that, the black marketing has come in, and because of the black marketing which has come in, the oxygen crisis is occurring now. So my suggestion is that we should not be panicking. We should allow the oxygens to go to the higher centers. The centers already has been defined as L1, L2, L3 centers. The L1 centers are just for the isolation purposes. The L2 centers are where the oxygen are available, and L3 where the ventilators are available. The conversion from the oxygen requirement to the ventilators are very less. But conversion from oxygen, the ventilators are less. But what is happening is we are just rushing. Maybe the ventilators are required, but we should not be panicking, because 98% people do not require ventilators. It is only the oxygen which is required, and the oxygen may be given in form of the nasal prong, mask, or FHNO, or NRBM, whichever way it is possible. But then that is what the requirement is, not the ventilators, which are generally not required. So my suggestion is, don't panic. Let the organization, the government do its portion. Let the oxygen come to the hospitals, and let the hospital treat the patients instead of people panicking and hoarding the cylinders. That is what the suggestions are.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava. Now, before I will move to the next panelist, I have some small questions to you. You have mentioned about triple mutant. Are we in triple mutant or double mutant? Or I heard wrongly?
No, it is triple mutant which has occurred now.
Okay. Because everywhere in the media and everywhere the statements are that we are in the double mutant phase.
No, there are certain viruses which has been studied by virology department in Pune, and it says triple mutants are also available.
So according to you, this triple mutant is more infectious.
Virulent.
Sorry?
More virulent.
Okay. Can you just explain?
More virulent in the sense it is more infective. The initial, what you may have seen, the household, one person gets infected, the other may not have got infected. But this time what is happening is, if one person gets infected in the house, the whole house gets infected. Okay. And nobody is getting spared.
And what about the mortality in this triple mutant?
Because the number of cases have been very less in triple mutant, so we do not know exactly what is the mortality. But then over a period of time, we'll come to know about it. But this time the mortality is much more higher than the previous, when the last time the corona had occurred. This time mortality is slightly higher.
And what about the percentage of patients require oxygen? Like last time in the 2020, if 100 patients are coming, how many patients were requiring oxygen? This time, how many are requiring?
Last time requirement of oxygen was probably about 5 to 6% only.
Okay.
And this time it has gone beyond about 15%. So there's a quantum jump which has occurred. And there's a huge requirement of oxygen. That is why it has come into play.
So you mean to say about 2.5 to 3 times
Yeah.
more requirement for the oxygen than the last year?
Yeah, because last time it was hardly any this thing, and there was no panic at all. Initially we had panic, but then we did not panic, and slowly we opened up everything. And in spite of opening up also, the transmission was not very much.
And one more thing you mentioned about the large hospital. Now, large hospital, you mean to say like Gangaram Hospital or large hospital?
Where the specialists are available, meaning that maybe even 100 or 50 bedded hospital also, where the specialist should be available.
So you mean to say their requirement is about 200 cylinders, 300 cylinders a day?
Yeah, approximately about, if you have, I gave you the calculation. It's quite a simple calculation. 7.14 liters of oxygen per minute for a non-ventilated patient. So it works out to be about 10,000 liters per day. That is what the calculation is, and that is how we calculate. And depending on number of patients which are available, so you will require that many oxygen cylinders.
And in the media, there were some reports that the bigger hospitals doesn't require cylinders. They have some liquid.
Actually, a lot of hospitals have switched over from the conventional jumbo cylinders to liquid oxygen. The liquid oxygen has much better compliance. Why? Because the 1 liter of liquid oxygen would give you about 800 liters of oxygen. So it becomes a very effective method. Whereas, so what is happening is the bigger hospitals, although have converted into the liquid oxygen chambers which they have installed, but then the requirement has gone up so high that they are unable to cope up with whatever liquid oxygen which is available. I only suggest one thing, that we should all go in for the bigger hospitals. More than 300 bedded hospitals should go in for liquid oxygen chambers.
Okay, thank you, Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava. I will come back to you after I will finish my other part. I will talk to other panelists. But yes, definitely what Brigadier has informed are very, very useful information, which I can say many of us were not aware. First was about the triple mutant, because we were thinking first was the coronavirus, then that COVID-19, which has come from China. Then we were talking about the UK variant or South African variant. Then comes the double mutant, which was found in India first. And then now it is a triple mutant. Before I will go to that, Dr. Brigadier, can you just tell us, this triple mutant is from India only or from any other country?
No, actually, we are still into the original thing only, into initial thing only. And we are still not actually aware that it has come from outside or whether it has mutated here itself.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Dr. Kapil Rathi. Dr. Kapil Rathi is the medical director and consultant of My Health Clinics, Mumbai. He is consultant physician and COVID physician working as frontline warrior in this pandemic. He is MBBS, MD medicine and diploma in chest medicine. He also did diploma in infectious disease. He has also been actively involved in COVID management of patient and taken out almost more than 50 CMEs on COVID in last 6 months for various organizations. Welcome, Dr. Kapil Rathi, on our show. Dr. Kapil Rathi, you have heard what Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava has mentioned. 2-3 things. First thing, that about triple mutant, then about the percentage of patients requirement has multifold increased by 2.5 to 3 times in comparison to the last year pandemic situation. Now, we would like to know from you the oxygen. Your views, Dr. Kapil Rathi, please.
I was quite listening to the brigadier, and I was quite convinced. And we all know we are going through what is the worst. What we have think. Second wave is always worse than first wave. That is what the history told us, and that is what we are facing. Probably, as rightly pointed out, there are 2-3 points clinically what we have seen. Probably we have learned of COVID a lot in last year or so, and that is what we have learned, that COVID requires oxygen more than any other thing. Probably oxygen is one of the most important remedy for COVID treatment. That is what we have learned in last 1 year. Forget about remdesivir, forget about other drugs. The oxygen is something which is very pivotal to the treatment of the COVID patient. And that is why we require oxygen for a lot of our patients. We don't put a lot of patients on ventilators, or for that matter, BiPAP, everything. That is a last resort, probably, and that is the, I think that is the sinking ship. What we. So what important is to have oxygen, because you have to support the system till the time it recovers from its own or from whatever treatment you have started. So oxygen is very important, and we all know we breathe oxygen, so is our COVID patient. Now what happens is that what is happening currently with this second COVID wave from last 1 month or so, so-called double or triple mutant, whatever you say, the thing is that it has got more propensity towards youth, that is between 30 to 45. Two, it is hitting your lung very hard. So probably within 5 to 7 days of infection, patients are getting bad and getting getting admitted, and they're typically getting admitted with oxygen levels of 80, 85. That is what we have seen, and all our 80% of our patients are from the age group of say more than 35 to between 60. So that is what is happening. So the treatment what you offered is basically an oxygen, and that is where our demand and supply are getting problematic, and that is where we are getting into the trouble. Now I don't want to go into logistic about what is the current production and what we require, but yes, at ground level what we are seeing, I am handling almost 50-bedded hospital for COVID, and I am seeing that there is a dearth of oxygen. We are not getting enough oxygen, maybe because of logistics or maybe because of what. And yes, the most important reason is because we are getting younger people getting more severe disease. They require a lot of oxygen, and we can't deny that. We have to increase. Two, what I have found is that we have using a lot of high oxygen. That is where something we need to cut down. We have to target your saturations to 93, 94 kind of a thing. So you have to use little rational of oxygen. You can't give oxygen till your saturation goes 97, 98. A lot of people are too enthusiastic to keep it more than 97, 98. That is not the case. That is what we have learned in last year or so. Around 94, 95% of saturation can make your patient better, can survive your patient for a longer time. So that is where we have to be more smarter, or in fact we have to use more common sense to use rational oxygen till the time we get enough supply. So that is one thing. So we have got a bad virus, we have got mutant virus, we have got more patients. In fact, when the surge is too much, we have got younger patient, we are getting sicker disease, and we are getting more and more toxic patient. And as Brigadier also pointed out, the virulence is very high, 2.5 times to 3 times than the previous 2020 coronavirus. So an average person is infecting twice high as compared to the last year coronavirus. So that's why you're getting families and societies are getting infected, and you are getting patient admitted. The problem or the good part was the last time was that it was mostly homebound patients, and mostly were doing very well till the time they come to the hospital. But now you are getting more and more sicker patients coming very early to the hospital, getting hypoxia, and you can't deny anything other than oxygen. At least people require oxygen rather than getting remdesivir and other stuff, because oxygen is something which will prevent further damage, and probably will help us patient to recover faster. So what I feel, or what I think, yes, government are doing their job. Probably another 3-4 days everything should be streamlined. But as of now, we were a little struggling last week, but things are getting, at least I can assure you, in Mumbai, the things are getting a little better last 2-3 days as compared to it was in a week's time back. So probably we are towards that thing where demand and supply will be equally matched, and probably we will be giving liquid oxygen concentrators, jumbo cylinders, and whatnot. People are and the problem is that the richer society, or the people who are affording, or who are the top notch, they actually sometimes they block something which is required for the ground level, or required for the people who actually need that. So that is my request to all of you from your channel and from your this media conference, that try to give oxygen to the needy people who requires, because most of them will not require, who are at home bound, or probably are at home at just stocking the cylinder for the sake of stocking, because that doesn't make any sense. The sense is that hospital has to be equipped with the oxygen. Oxygen has to be in the hospital where patient requires that. Probably there we can save much more life as compared to others. So that are my overview on the oxygen and how it should be rationalized use, how a doctor can help out to a patient through oxygen, and how a society can help out, or the people in the bureaucracy or in the government can actually ease out this kind of situation. And I wish media could play a bigger role in actually giving a good picture rather than creating a lot of fuss of that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rathi. Yes, you mentioned very important points. First point, which I would like to just say more clarification to you is, you mentioned about younger patients. Now, earlier in the last pandemic, that is 2020, we found that all those who are above 60 or 65 were the casualties or more patients who have been admitted in the hospital, and mortality rate was there. But now you are saying that the younger generation, that is from 35 onwards. So you mean to say that because the vaccination has taken place of above 60, not of or above 65, but not of above 35, and last time we have done it from 45. Now only from 1st May we are opening from 18 onwards. So do you think this was one of the reasons that the younger generation is getting more infectious this time because of no vaccination to them?
To a certain extent, yes. What we have found is that people who are vaccinated, especially double dose, who are vaccinated with 2 doses, have, once they get infected also, in fact, that is the ICMR data and our ground reality data also. So if they are getting disease or if they are infected, the disease is a milder version. Milder version in the sense you probably will not require hospital admission. Probably you will be better at home isolation. Yes, one of the reason is that, yes, probably younger people have not. There are 2 things. One, they have let their guard down because they feel they were younger people, so there was no mask and no social distancing. 2, no vaccination to them as of now. Probably now we are running up. And 3, because of the mutant virus also, it has got ability to pierce into your immunity system and make your lung more sicker as compared to the normal Corona 19 which was there in 2020. So that are all 3 factors combined together is giving you a little bad picture in a younger population. I'm talking typically about between 35 to 50 kind of guys who were not very sick in the last wave as compared to this wave. So probably all these 3 factors are making our patient more sicker and getting more hospital admission.
Okay. One more thing I would like to know before I move to the next panelist is, last time it was publicized even by the government that Ayush played a very important role, and especially by drinking kadhas, consuming zinc, vitamin C in the forms of fruits and vegetables, or turmeric and whatnot. Do you think that this time, this mutant or this virus is not being controlled by all those things which we were using last time to prevent coronavirus?
Yeah, it's very difficult to answer that question. Probably because this virus is more virulent, so it has got ability to pierce into your immune system very fast. So probably, so it can break shuttle all the immunity system, whatever you have developed or whatever is your, the innate immunity, what we call probably. Or basically, in fact, what we have seen a lot of patients who have COVID-19 in 2020 are getting reinfection in 2021. So that means even in spite of the good antibody titers which they have, still they, this virus or whatever mutant virus is going and hitting them. Probably hitting them not very hard, but in a milder way, but at least hitting them. So all your micronutrients, your kadhas and all other things, they I don't know they are going to help or not, but yes, you can continue that to increase your immunity, but that doesn't warranty you that you will not get an infection. Probably if you're not get in the previous time, or if you are naive from infection, you will get it. And probably if you get it, probably it will be more a sicker variety in this 2021 variant rather than in 2020. So that is what is my take. But that doesn't mean that you should not take whatever discipline, whatever therapy, whatever pathy you follow it very passionately, but don't mess up with all the guidelines what are there with the COVID-19 from the government or from what we know. So you're masking, social distancing, hand washing, probably not overcrowding and everything that have to be maintained. That is, in fact, it is more mandatory now than it was in 2020 to prevent further damage.
One more thing, that the emphasis, the reports are that those who are doing exercise regularly, walking or whatsoever, because right now the gyms are closed in many of the cities. So they are walking. Are they also very prone or not? They are getting the infections easily, or the infection, or they will be not going to get the infection easily if they are doing exercise regularly?
No, exercise has proven, or in fact, all breathing exercises and aerobic exercises are very good for keeping your lung very hard. It's pumping out and everything. So yes, but exercise, whatever you do at home, that is probably the best one. If you want to use your, the society and the gardens and everything with all the restriction, probably you need to judge yourself whether it is safe or not. And if you do it in a proper way where you keep all the distance and everything. But yes, doing exercise is one of the good remedies. It's a free remedy. It's a day-to-day remedy which you can do at least to improve the lung compliance as well as the immunity, because exercise play a tremendous role. In fact, all our COVID patients who have been recovered, there is a lot of pulmonary rehab what we are doing. Probably their lung exercise is something which plays a very important role to come back to the normal what it used to be before COVID. So doing an exercise or aerobic kind of or a lung exercise is a good habit that will actually prevent a further damage, or in fact, if damage happens, that will help to recover more faster as compared to others.
Okay, thank you very much, and I hope that way the Mumbai is improving, because yesterday's figures are quite less than the earlier figures. So let's hope that the worst part is over, and let's keep our finger crossed. Thank you very much, Dr. Kapil Rathi. I will come back to you in the next round. Now I am going to a non-medical person. I'm going to a legal person, and I'm inviting and introducing my next panelist, and he is Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma is the chairman of Gyandeep Shiksha Bharati Senior Secondary School, Mathura. He is a leading lawyer of Western UP with more than 41 years of practice. He is regularly appearing in Supreme Court and different high courts, including Allahabad, Madhya Pradesh, Delhi, Andhra Pradesh, etc. He is extensively practicing constitutional, civil, and taxation matters. He is also rendering social services. He is secretary of Kans Nikandan Trust, Mathura. He is founder secretary of Civil Lawyers Forum and president thereafter. Welcome, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, when I suggested to you, I asked you to join, your first question was, what I will do. This is oxygen. It has I'm an advocate. But you know very well what has happened for last 1 week. I must say, the court drama is on. The high courts of different high courts, whether it's Allahabad High Court, Delhi High Court, Mumbai High Court, Calcutta High Courts, so many high courts, about 12 high courts are listening the pleas of the hospitals, listening the pleas of the state governments, etc. And about in the last week only, the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court also took the suo motu cognizance of this particular thing. And again, there was quite a drama in Supreme Court. Now, we would like to know, after all, why this is a medical emergency. This has nothing to do with legal, but why the things are doing in the court, and court are taking the decisions which have to be followed, and court has to intervene. Now, we would like to know from you why and what is the legal aspect of this particular thing, that is oxygen. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, please.
Yeah, Mr. Goyal, first I would like to say thanks to you for myself as well as for the civil society for selecting such a needed and hot topic. Our political bosses are having no time for considering all these problems. They are already busy in their elections and all other problems, but no time for the problems of the public. You have chosen the subject. I congratulate you. Coming to the topic, in India, long time back in 1959, Government of India constituted a committee for Health Survey and Planning Committee under the chairmanship of Dr. Mudaliar. This Dr. Mudaliar was a famous doctor of the country. Initially, he was principal of Madras Medical College. Thereafter, he became Vice Chancellor for Madras University. And till today, he is having a record that he was Vice Chancellor of Madras University continuously for 27 years. Anyway, he was also awarded initially Padma Bhushan, and there were Padma Vibhushan by the government of India. He represented India in so many international conferences on the health sector. He was also chairman of World Health Organization in 1949 and 1950. So under the chairmanship of Dr. Mudaliar, a committee was formed. Some retired ICS officers were there as a member. Some renowned other doctors were also there as member, and some renowned MPs were also there as member. This committee make a survey of all over India, that is the present health infrastructure of that time, present piece of that time, and made a plan for the future, that what is required for the health infrastructure, health purposes. That report was submitted in 1961. That report was accepted by the government, and in some words, it was acted upon for few recommendations, though accepted as a whole. One of the important recommendation of this committee was, the report is very huge report. It is about more than 550 pages, 556 pages. One of the important part of the report is that they have also considered with regard to virus diseases, and they have recommended that there should be a separate hospital for infectious diseases within every municipal area, and they should be established at the outskirts of the municipality, and they should contain an isolation ward in it, and the capacity of beds of that isolation ward should be according to the population of that municipality. If the population is more, the isolation ward shall be more. If the population is less, they may be less. This part was a little accepted by the government and acted upon also. You must be remembering, in Mathura also there was a Haj Hospital, in Vrindavan also there was a Haj Hospital, and it was at outskirts of the then limits of the city, and they were managed by the municipality, and the health department was also created due to this report only in every municipality of the country. But by the passage of time, this health department of the municipalities has been totally ruined. No more doctors are there, no more staff is there. You must have heard about these Haj hospitals, that they have totally ruined. No facilities there, buildings have ruined, no employees is there. That is, their existence is no more anyhow. One of the important recommendation of this committee was that oxygen is the first and basic requirement of every disease, serious disease. Even if there is some pandemic, some earthquake, some accident, some war, some other problem is there, so oxygen is required. So this committee recommended that there should be an oxygen plant in every district, and the capacity of oxygen plant should be according to the population of the district. So whenever the maximum oxygen is required, these oxygen plants may supply the required oxygen to their own district. Though this recommendation was also accepted by the government in 1961, but 60 years have gone. So many governments have come and gone. None of the government has tried to establish this oxygen plant in every district. Commercial basis, they have been established by the different companies, some of the government at different places, but not according to this report. This is the old report, and they have given a very much stress on this point. Government has accepted it, but not acted upon. Had it been acted upon, I hope the problem which we are facing today may have not come at all. Anyway, now what you have said about the legal aspect which is going on, existence of problem is very much there, and our political bosses are having no time to consider for all these problems. Right to life contains a right to health also. Right to life is a fundamental right, and our high courts and supreme courts are a guardian of fundamental rights. They have to save, they give a guarantee for the fundamental rights, to save the fundamental rights of the public. They have to exercise it. When the government was not doing it, the different high courts exercised their rights. Matters came to different high courts, and they have passed certain directions. Some high courts were very much critic to the actions of the government, that the actions of the government were not satisfactory and they are having no time and they are not doing the needful at all. Allahabad High Court has also passed certain directions. Some lockdown was also proposed, and the very next day, our Honorable Supreme Court has stayed those directions anyway. Thereafter, with regard to oxygen, other than high courts, two important high courts, Delhi High Court and Nagpur bench of Bombay High Court, they have passed very strict directions with regard to the oxygen supply. What happened in Maharashtra, the requirement of oxygen has gone high, but central government has reduced the quota of Maharashtra for the oxygen supply. That quota must have been increased, and instead of they have reduced it. The main reason may be the government of different parties or whatever may be. That notification of the central government was challenged before the Maharashtra High Court at Nagpur bench, and Honorable High Court specifically stayed that notification, reducing the quota of the oxygen, and directed the central government to supply the oxygen at least at the initial level. If they can increase it, they should increase it. Delhi High Court was also very much critic to the actions taken by the government or inactions of the government, and Delhi High Court also passed certain orders. Surprisingly, on Thursday, as it is well known nowadays, that our Honorable Supreme Court tries its best to save the government and not the public. Our bad luck. Anyway, Honorable Supreme Court on the very next day, that is on Thursday, took a suo motu cognizance of the matter, and on the ground that the different high courts are considering all these points, and the different type of directions are coming, and some confusions are coming, although there was no confusion at all. But the view of the Honorable Supreme Court was that the confusions are coming, so it is better to hear all these matters at the Supreme Court level, so that the uniformity may be there. Cognizance was taken and notices were issued. The perception is that this all was being done by the then bench of the Honorable Supreme Court just to save our central government from the criticize of done by the different high courts. So many of the senior lawyers of Honorable Supreme Court criticized this thing. It was not required at all, when Supreme Court itself is doing nothing, and it is not allowing to do the things by the High Court. This is just against the interest of the public at large. And the very next day, the date was fixed. So many hot exchanges were there. And by the way, it was the last day of our Chief Justice of India, Sri Bobde, and our Solicitor General simply wanted a time to file their counter, and Honorable Supreme Court granted a time up to Tuesday. And this was the actual purpose of taking the cognizance, doing nothing, and just to postpone the matter, so that the High Court may not do anything. And that purpose they have served. But when the pressure from the bar was very much, then they have specifically said that we have not stayed the proceedings of the High Court, and High Courts are free to pass any order according to their hearings. Saturday also, though it was a vacation of the Honorable Delhi High Court, but they have held the hearing and certain directions have been passed. So all these things were going on, and these all things are politically motivated. And this is a bad luck of the country actually, that even in such a health emergency, the politically motivated things are going on in the courts. They should not be there. First, it was the duty of our central government itself to look into the problem and try to solve the problems. But they have not done it. If High Courts tried to do something, then Honorable Supreme Court tried its best to check it and don't allow them to do something. It was only due to the pressure from the senior advocates, and furthermore, one intervention application was also moved in that matter on Friday itself by the Supreme Court Bar Association, specifically saying that at this juncture, Supreme Court is not expected and not required to take suo motu cognizance and allow the High Courts to do whatever they are doing at this juncture. That application is also pending. Nothing has been done in that application. Now the fresh bench should be there, maybe there on the Tuesday, and we hope some better things may happen. But anyway, coming to the main thing, oxygen is being used for the industrial purposes also. This is a fact. In such health emergency, this industrial use of the oxygen may have been checked or banned long back. Government has not done this. Now they have done it from 22nd of the April, after much criticized. But prior to that, Tata Steel has already stopped its oxygen use, and they transferred their oxygen to different hospitals. Firstly, Tata started it. After Tata's, Reliance Petroleum at Jamnagar, Jindal Steel, JSW Steel, these all big companies who are having their big oxygen plants for their own industrial purposes, they shifted their oxygen for the hospitals or medical use prior to government restriction. They have done it so moto prior to government restrictions. So private sector has done some good thing. Now, after much criticized, the honorable the central government has stopped the industrial ban for certain time. Anyway, but the main thing is, which is to be done as per what I feel, that oxygen is required immediately. Government says we are exporting the oxygen plant by air. Oxygen plant will come, it shall be established, it shall be produced, the employees shall be called on. It will take several months. By that time, lakhs of people may have died. So this cannot be a solution of the problem. What can be done? Oxygen, as it is already in deficiency, Dr. Srivastava and Dr. Rathi has already said. So oxygen itself must be imported, and it should be supplied so that the deficiency must be full. Then there should be a proper distribution of the oxygen. In the state, a government parallel to the central government is not available, the supply shall not be made properly. In the state parallel to the central government is there, then the supply shall be proper. This bifurcation is not proper at all. Overall, it is a matter of life of the public. Politics should not be involved in this, but we are sorry to say that even for the purpose of life of the public, the politics is there. This is quite sadful. Anyway, industrial use of the oxygen should be banned. Maybe industries may be closed, no problem is there, but it should be banned at least for 3 to 4 months, or at least this demand of oxygen comes to the level. One more thing may be done if oxygen, availability of oxygen is proper. Nowadays, as we see, the beds in the hospitals are not available, and crisis of beds is very much there. Oxygen cylinders are available, oxygen gas is not available, cylinders are available. If we make the oxygen cylinders available for the public for their home use, so this pressure on the government, on the hospitals may diminish. There may not be so rush for the hospitals for a bed, which is nowadays, and this pressure may be reduced, and public may use as and when required the oxygen at their own home. So these may be the types of suggestions by which this problem may be solved. We have yet to see that what our government thinks or does now.
Okay, thank you, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. And he has made a very important point. The important point is that the committee formed earlier and has recommended in 1961 that every district in country should have one oxygen plant for the need of that particular district as per the capacity, as well as one infectious hospital in each and every district. I cannot say about the infectious disease hospitals. I am sure that they might have made it, but the oxygen plants, yes, oxygen plants are not there, and that's why the oxygen shortage is there. My only one question to you, then I will go back to our earlier panelist, is nowadays hospitals are going for the court, moving the court even in the night whenever they are not getting the oxygen, or they have sent an SOS and then immediately they move to the court. Why they are doing like this when they have already sent an SOS? After all, the government, the court will also do the same thing. Court will also ask the government to see to it that it should go. The supply should be smooth. But already the courts have passed so many strictures against the government. Then why again and again burdening the court and asking them to sit? They are rather sitting in the night, late nights, early mornings. Instead of that, why not they are just moving, sending the requirement in advance to the government and see to it that the government will fulfill? What are your views about that, Advocate Sharma?
Yes, Mr. Goel, hospitals are already sending their requirements in advance. No problem is there at that point. But there is a internal discrimination at government level for supply of the oxygen. That is the main reason to rush to the court. This discrimination is the problem. Government supplies the oxygen which to whom hospital they want, but the other hospital may be having much more patients, may be having much more patients on ventilators or on oxygen, but they are not supplying, or supplying in a very lesser quantity, or supplying in a very slow speed. That is the problem.
Okay.
So that's why the directions are being made by the High Court, but it is yet to be seen that how far those directions are being complied, because of High Court itself cannot supply the oxygen. It can only direct the government. That's all. Ultimately, directions are to be complied by the government. So it is yet to be seen that how far the directions are to be complied.
Okay. And one more thing which is coming is that only the big cities, hospitals are moving to the High Court. Now, cities like you are in Mathura. Now, Mathura doesn't have a High Court. Now, if there is a shortage of oxygen, which as per the social worker Kunwar Naren Singh has spoken that there was a shortage and he got it organized from somewhere. But if there is a shortage in a small city, the courts, the city civil courts or the district courts doesn't have the jurisdiction to direct anything. What the hospital, the small hospitals of 100 bed or 200 beds or 50 beds will do in that time?
Very important question you have asked, Mr. Goyal. And the main reason is, suppose we take an example of Mathura. As you have said, no High Court is there. High Court is at Allahabad. If one hospital goes to Allahabad, one day has gone. He will get it prepared there. He will get it filed there. 2-3 days have gone. In 2-3 days, so many patients have died in the hospital. But in Delhi, Bombay, when hospital is there, High Court is there, immediately they will get it prepared and get it filed and relief may be given. So the distance is the main thing. That's why the Bombay and Delhi High Courts are mainly doing it. Other High Courts are locally doing it. Allahabad itself, if any hospital at Allahabad, they can rush to the High Court immediately. But for Mathura, Agra, Kanpur, it is not so easy.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Advocate Sharma. Now I will go back to our Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava. Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava, when private hospitals were having supply agreements with the oxygen manufacturers for last many years, and they were supplying regularly. This is not a thing that oxygen is required only because of the COVID. They were treating the oxygen, the surgeries were on wherever the oxygen is required. Now what has happened? Why the things have changed? That why the hospitals are now rushing to the government and the court? What has changed?
There are two things actually. First thing is why the people are going to court. There's a living example of Gorakhpur Medical College. Gorakhpur Medical College, there were 9 children who expired in the hospital because of want of oxygen. And the oxygen which was supposed to be given, the government was supposed to sanction some money. That money was not received by the vendor, and somehow the principal was able to manage for some days. Thereafter, what happened is the oxygen was not supplied because of the money, and then this landed up into a crisis and 9 children died. And because of this, the government took action and punished him by sending him to jail. The principal was sent to jail. Now, with this background, what is happening is everyone is scared as to what is going to happen. So what people are doing is they have put up a demand, number one, and number two is they go to court also, so that both sides are covered. That is what probably I think that why people are going to court. I would also like to go to court in the sense because of this reason, because I have to also save. Something happens and the oxygen does not come to the institute, the person are going to die. So how do I prevent myself? There is no way out. And government would order an inquiry and will try and blame somebody. The machinery, the government machinery would not be blamed. That is the first portion of it. The second portion, there's always a tie-up which there with the vendor for supplying of oxygen. But now what is happening is there has been a rationing of oxygen to these vendors. And the supply is now controlled by the government. So what is happening is, because of this reason, the requirement which was supposed to be there, that is not coming.
Okay.
That is what the problem.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brigadier Srivastava. I will come back to you again in the next round. Now my question goes to Dr. Rathi. Dr. Rathi, you are dealing with the COVID patients in a hospital for last almost now 13 months. But now the condition, when earlier you were treating the patients, and if the patient's disease is that you cannot, because its infection has reached to this extent, everyone, doctor, nurses, health workers, they are trying their best to save. But now, when the shortage of oxygen is there, and you know this patient can be saved if the oxygen can be given. Now, just tell me, how does doctors and nurses cope up with the trauma of avoidable deaths? Because you know that this patient I would have saved. The nurse knows that this patient is going to be saved, but now oxygen is not there. You are helpless. How you are coping up with the trauma? We have seen on the television, many doctors are breaking down. They are crying on the with the tears, and they are saying, please save, we are helpless. How you people are coping up with the trauma? Dr. Kapil Rathi, please.
Yeah, I think it's a very tough question, and it is what we are facing last 10 days, day in, day out. We are facing. We are running short of bed, short of medicine, and short of oxygen. And what I was feeling is that, yes, okay, drugs are shortage. I can understand, because there are some vested interests, there are some patent and everything, but not about oxygen. Oxygen was something which I have always thought it was free. It is 21% free in the air. But what is required for medical oxygen is something which we never ever have seen in my life. In my last 15 years practice, we are running short of oxygen, and people are literally craving and dying because of that. So it's a big trauma to all of us as a medical fraternity, and we can't let our patient die just because there is no oxygen. I can understand there are no medicine sometimes. There are sometimes the diseases which are beyond your control, but you know that this patient can be saved just because giving oxygen for 2-3 days might just give this patient a new life. And you can't have people of 30, 35, 40 years of age die in front of you, craving for oxygen and breaking down. So I think we have even a tough people like us also break down because of this, the helplessness or something which is not occurring. And we are running every day. We are literally fighting with vendors, with whatever. Forget about COVID. Now we are actually dealing with all other stuff rather than treating disease. We have to beg, borrow everything to the government, to basically the local authority, because every day there are some new rules which comes up. There are something new guidelines which comes up. Oxygen will be available through drug inspectors or whatever. So everything, there are some new set of guidelines, and we are running short of oxygen. We are trying 10 vendors in a day just to give oxygen, because we all know, after all, we can save this patient by just giving oxygen. And all know we require a lot of oxygen for a patient. At least 2 jumbo cylinders will be consumed by a single patient if he's on at least 7 to 8 liters per minute. And that is where, if you have 20 patients, you require at least 80 to 100 jumbo cylinders per day. what we are getting is absolutely less than half as of now. Probably things are going to improve future, but yes, it's a scene where you don't wish to be in that scenario where you have to see the patient is dying, or you have to shift to the patient, or you have to tell to the patient, please go and find some oxygen bed because we are running short of oxygen. I think it's very traumatizing, and it is pathetic to see that, and we can't do anything. That is the problem. Medically, you can't do anything. I can agree. The diseases are severe. If you can't give oxygen, I think then it is something as good as crime.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kapil Rathi, for giving a very pathetic. I must say, it's a really pathetic condition
Really
today,
pathetic.
and we can understand the conditions how you all medical people are working. Anyway, I will come back to you again. Now, my question goes to Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, how will hospitals protect themselves from medico-legal cases from the families members of those dying with shortage of oxygen? Because if there is a patient died in a hospital because of the shortage of oxygen, it's not the fault of the doctor, not the fault of the nurse, not the fault of the hospital, but definitely the relative of the anyone, whosoever relative is thinking that it was of the hospital. Yesterday, I saw on the television, one relative was saying, why the hospital has not told me, I would have bought 2 cylinders from anywhere. Now, it is not possible. Everybody knows the crisis is there. But what is going to happen now? The patient's relatives will definitely file medical legal cases against the hospitals, against the doctors. How they are going to safeguard themselves? What is the remedy in this? Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma.
Question is important, Mr. Goyal, but actually this is not a fault on the part of the hospital at all. Oxygen is not being produced by the hospital. It is being supplied and quotas are being fixed by the government. So if the oxygen itself is not available, they are trying their best. All the hospital authorities are trying their best to have maximum quantity of oxygen, but no supply is there. So there cannot be said to be any fault on the part of the hospital, and they cannot be blamed. The fault seems to be on the part of the government itself, because if there is no planning at all, no proper distribution at all.
Sorry, Advocate Sharma, my point is very clear. As you are being a legal luminary, you know that once somebody will file a case to the courts, the hospital administration or the doctor has to go to the court to prove innocence, because the lawyer from the patient relative will definitely say it is the fault, and the government at that time, like Brigadier Srivastava has mentioned, the government will also pass the bucks and they will say, no, there was no proper requisition and they have not asked us. They would have asked us, we would have given. What Brigadier Srivastava said, and one, the Gorakhpur case, famous Gorakhpur case, when the Dr. Khan was prosecuted and sent to the jail. And also, what is going to happen? Who will decide? The court will decide. It may take 2 years, 3 years. Till that time, again a trauma for the doctors or the hospital administration. 2-3 years, they will be again traumatized. Why, Advocate Sharma? What is the remedy?
Dr. Srivastava has already answered the question as that decision was not of any court. Rather, it was a politically motivated decision. Dr. Srivastava specifically said, government has to blame someone, and they cannot blame themselves. They have blamed the principal of the medical college without any reasoning.
So here also,
these problems are to be faced by may be faced by the hospitals. That is correct, but legally they cannot be held punishable. That is what I'm saying. Cases may be filed. No one can check that case.
It will take 3 years or 5 years or 10 years.
Several years
until the time the hospital and the doctors. And that's why many of the hospitals, many of the hospitals are now saying no admissions. And they will, even now they are mentioning to the administration, if you want, you please take over the hospital. We will not be able to run. Is it correct?
Yeah, this happened in Kanpur. Okay. In charge of the hospital specifically said, you sent myself jail and seal my hospital. I'm ready to go to jail and get the hospital sealed.
Okay, thank you very much, Advocate Sharma. Now I will go back to Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava. Brigadier Srivastava, you have heard everyone and you know everything. Now, what are the your suggestions to the government and advice to public, although you have given lots of advice initially also that one should not hoard, but still what you think should be the solution, and for that solution where the government has to act, what suggestion you want to give to the government and to the public at large, so that lives can be saved, everyone can be saved, at least we can face this pandemic it's like a war-like situation, so much pathetic. People blame me that you are creating fear. It's not the creating fear. We want to create the awareness. That is our motto. Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava, please. Please unmute.
My only thing is, first of all, we should not panic, number one. Number two, no holding of the cylinders. Why? Because just one cylinder would not help a person anyway. It will not be possible for him to continue with that cylinder, one cylinder. So it is humanly impossible for him to sustain on that cylinder. So please do not hoard, number two. Number three, only when the oxygen level goes down, go to a hospital. Otherwise, try and be safe. Whatever medicine supposed to be prescribed by the local doctors should be taken. The precautions, whichever social distancing, mask and all those things has to be taken, that should be there. Besides this, the oxygen supply, which has now been taken over by the government, it should work out that each hospital would require how much. And that should be catered for. Because the hospital cannot run anywhere else except now for the government to supply whatever is the demand. Nobody is trying to, any hospital would not try to hoard the oxygen and keep the oxygen for, the hospital requires to run. And to run that hospital, definitely they require oxygen. Rest other medicines, as said by Dr. Kapil, is definitely there. But besides that, the oxygen is the most important.
Okay, thank you, Brigadier, for giving your views. Now my question goes same to Dr. Kapil Rathi. What are your suggestions to the government and advice to public?
First of all, to public is that one thing is that still our mortality rate is not that bad. Still this new variant or whatever mutant is not. So don't panic. One thing, no less than 80%, probably 80% will be cured at home only. So that is a good news. One thing. Two, out of that 20%, probably 15% will require oxygen. And probably we are coping up with that demand supply issue. So don't panic. Plus, secondly, I request to all public through your channel, don't try to scapegoat, doctors, or don't try to malign the doctors. Don't try to hit the doctor because they are serving relentless. They are serving, they are overburdened, they are overworked. Still, they are working and trying their best to save all of the life of people. So that is one thing. So don't blame failures of government to the doctors or to the hospital, because that is something. I know government are working. We are a health system where we are not fully developed. We are still developing nation as far as health system is concerned. So we are trying to fix the problem what is there, but don't try to push someone, or just try to target someone for something which has happened. We are going to hear a lot of the stories in coming days where we will be getting that people are died because of less oxygen or something like that. We have to take that, and probably we have to act very fast. So that is for the public. As far as the government is concerned, what I understand as a ground level clinician, where I see patient day in, day out, try to assess, try to establish the nexus, try to cut down on that black marketing which is happening. Probably people are getting a lot of money out of there. So government has to be very clear on that the supply should be to the hospital who are required. Try to gauge what they will be requiring another 7 days so that they can give ample amount of oxygen to them. At least try to gauge. We are going to be in the peak till 30th of May. So probably have vision till 30th of May and procure that much of oxygen which is required per day for the per city. That is what is my...
Okay, thank you, MS Dr. Rathi. Paucity of time, but still 1 minute to you, Advocate Sharma. Your suggestion to the government and advice to public.
I totally agree with Dr. Kapil Rathi, and I would like to add that efficiency and production of the present oxygen plant must be increased immediately, and required liquid oxygen should be imported from wherever in the world it is possible by air, and proper supply should be made and proper distribution should be there. Panic should not be there. That is a fact.
Okay. Thank you very much, Advocate Sharma. So today you have seen all our experts has said one thing. First thing, please don't panic. Secondly, they says don't hold the oxygen. After all, if you are holding, it is of no use. 1 cylinder, 2 cylinders will not save your life, but it may save the life of many, even your own child, your own parents. So don't hold the cylinders, and please don't panic. Keep all your protocols of the COVID behavior as intact, wearing mask, hand sanitization, keeping distance. Plus, they have also very clear that the government should act fast without any political motives. They must see to it that every hospital, every patient is important. So to remove or there should not be a blame game to each other. Rather, they must think of the public at large, and then they should serve properly, and there will be no shortage. And whatsoever requirement, as one of the panelists says, holdings or those black marketings to be stopped by the government. And one of them says import whatsoever you want to do, war-like situation, please do it. So thank you very much for participating today in our show. Today's shows has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon se Samvad Sarokar News, as well as it was shown live on YouTube and Facebook. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day new topic. And tomorrow our topic is again very, very important. Media conference with Lal Goyal at 10:30 a.m. The topic is COVID returns, where we went wrong. Tomorrow we are going to discuss where we went wrong when the COVID has come back, why the COVID has come back with so intensity. And the panelists are Dr. Ramin Goyal, FRCS MS, Director, Center of Excellence in Pediatric and Metabolic Surgery, Wokhard Hospital, Mumbai. Dr. Dilip Singhvi, Specialist, Internal Medicine and Diabetes, Medical Director, Apollo Hospital, Muscat. Dr. Suleiman Ladhani, Consultant Chest Physician, Head of the Department, Prince Ali Khan Hospital, Wokhard and Masina Hospital, Mumbai. Please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goyal at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastava. Thank you very much, Dr. Kapil Rathi. And thank you very much, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, for joining us and giving the real inside story of the oxygen. And thank you all the viewers. I am sure the viewers will definitely learn something new from this today's media conference. Thank you all the viewers, and thank you all.